Warning: the garbage I'm about to talk about is so potent that the mere mention of it may have severe adverse effects on your health. If you suffer from any of the following symptoms, please detail the specifics in the comment section below and I'll be sure to prescribe appropriate treatment. Watch out for involuntary cringing, the overwhelming desire to gouge your eyes out, a desire to physically harm the fictional characters mentioned, uncontrollable laughter, uncontrollable frustration, uncontrollable frustration, uncontrollable frustration. What's cracking, guys? Samuel607 here to make up for the mistake that was my last video and tell you about something you'd be better off not knowing exists. For those of you who've had the misfortune of knowing me, it is no secret that when I have a problem with something, I express it in great detail. Thus, when I say I'm not the biggest fan of the Isekai genre, it should come as no surprise. Save for a few shining stars, it is ripe with shallow character writing, atrocious world building, uninteresting storytelling, and gimmicky plot premising. Hell, if you want to throw in a hook to go with those jabs, it wouldn't be a huge overstatement to call Isekai How to Ruin a Good Idea for Dummies. In spite of all this, it's still far from the toxic this video promised. For all their flaws, isekais are usually lighthearted and closer to disappointing than offensive. In that case, might I be here to talk about the harem genre instead? The ever-present tsundere by itself should be a glaring enough flaw in this design to scrap it, burn it, and prohibit the mention of it, but it does so much worse. In addition to the crime of making the most unlikable character archetype the most prominent lead every single time, in their inability to show an understanding of why people come to be attracted to one another, harem mangaka single-handedly propagate the idea that all Japanese men are vegetables with no social skills that have never spoken to real women, when in fact, that only applies to the 90% that enjoy this filth. That being said, though all the characters are always stupid, idiotic, dumb, daft, or unintelligent, harems are often the only time some of the less popular dares get any attention, so I can get why some of our love-starved otaku brethren take to such desperate measures. Okay, if it's neither of those, then what of BL? As a homosexual male, I have no problem with this. The toxicity there lay more in the aggressive shippers that make up their fandoms who go on to pervade and ruin the communities of everything else by sparking flame wars the likes of which were never meant to be. Now, you must be wondering just what vile and incorrigible existence is so remarkably bad that I'd have to offend the taste of everyone watching just to set it up. Ladies, I present to you trash. Before you think this is just another one of my Dragon Ball rants, I want you to hear me out. Though this may be hard to believe, Dragon Ball is the incredible high-performing standout that every story of this genre wishes it could emulate. Yes, I'm being serious, and no, I'm not talking about shonen. As most of you know, Dragon Ball took heavy inspiration from the incredibly famous and internationally renowned classic Chinese novel, Journey to the West. In taking this inspiration, Dragon Ball also borrowed enough characteristics of Chinese martial arts fantasy writing that it falls among today's offenders. That's right, my lizards and leopards. Today we talk about cultivation. Cultivation is a Taoist concept that describes extending one's lifespan through practicing martial and mystical arts with the goal of cultivating qi or ki, the spiritual life force. Before we proceed, I'll confess, though stories like Dragon Ball and The Breaker do fit comfortably into this genre, I'm not quite here to talk about traditional manga like I'd led you to believe. Chinese cultivation manhwa are something I have wanted to make a video about for a long time, but not enough of you know what those are for me to make a video about them without stretching the truth a tad bit and translating manhwa into Japanese. That being said, you can rest assured that you're still getting the waste I promised. Cultivation manhwa generally fall into one of two categories. The first of these is the wuxia genre. Of the two, this is milder, less offensive, and more commonly enjoyable. Wuxia translates to martial arts chivalry and usually describes a story that takes place in ancient China or a similar Earth-like setting that follows a budding martial arts practitioner who seeks to increase their level of skill and renown through diligent training and the accumulation of experience through their travels of the world. As is the case with both genres, the idea of martial arts used here is exaggerated. Wuxia heroes easily carry out feats of superhuman strength that would place their martial might on par with small armies. And this strength is usually obtained through a mixture of elixirs, pills, herbs, and special techniques such as acupuncture. Though these characters are far from normal, they're still mortal humans who come face to face with death regularly, and any story that has real and threatening consequences has the potential to be engaging. Now, as I've been saying all of these things, I've come to realize that the reason I'm being generous might be because I'm realizing that all of the stories of this genre that I can actually remember are actually Korean manhwa set in the Harem, like Legend of the Northern Blade, Peerless Dad, Volcanic Age, or Reborn as a Scholar. Those really only have as many problems as your standard run-of-the-mill manga. The real problem we've all been waiting for is the second half of cultivation stories, the xianxia genre. This time I actually checked, and it turns out that xianxia roughly translates to immortal hero and is the alternative to wuxia, where the goal of cultivation is to achieve immortality via nepotism, even more drugs, and secluded meditation that lasts the lifetimes they are trying to gain. Because I had no idea how to put into words that this garbage was objectively bad, I enlisted our trusty friend Google for help. A quick search for traits of bad writing revealed the list on screen, and I'll use these to make a point. Xianxia manhwa are ripe with indecipherable walls of text that pertain to cultivation methods and terms the writers assume you just happen to understand, as if you don't need to read thousands of chapters of just about everything else that exists to gain this knowledge. Most of the dialogue consists of an ancient language known as idiom. Half of the reading you will have to do when getting through your first xianxia will come in the form of translator notes. To show you what I mean, I will speak idiom for the next 5 flaws of the xianxia genre. There are usually 8 or 9 out of 10 things in people's lives which are unsatisfactory. Only those who eat the bitterest of the bitter will appreciate the sweetest of the sweet. If the Buddha rises 1 foot, the demon rises 10. Illness enters via the mouth, disaster comes out of the mouth. The cave of the tiger is not entered. An ugly bride will sooner or later meet her parents-in-law. A newborn calf doesn't fear the tiger. A single tree doesn't make a forest. From a dog's eyes, all people are short. Tiger, dragon, cave, immortal, rice. And as if the 0 out of 10 writing was not enough, the negative 5 out of 10 characters are so much worse. Xianxia characters fall under 3 categories: main character, damsel in distress, and stupid villain who underestimates the main character. In any good immortal hero story, we need to see the hero be heroic. Because of this, every single female character will, without fail, take a turn at being the damsel in distress, because apparently these writers haven't yet gotten the memo that women are actual real people. In fact, every other character the heroes even somewhat care for will join the damsel in distress gang, because these stories go on for the length of 6 One Pieces on average, and that's their idea of keeping everything refreshing. I'll be fair though, I've seen enough misutilization of characters that this doesn't stand out when compared to industry standard junk. The sins of the xianxia come more in the insulting personalities everything that breathes possess. If you are a strong man, you're arrogant, put no one in your eyes, and flex your muscles whenever you want something. If you're a weak man, you live a cowardly life bowing to the strong. If you're a strong woman, you're not. Your worth is decided by your beauty or background, and if you try to accomplish anything, you will fail and begin your damsel in distress arc so you can fall in love with the main character. Ah, yes. While on the topic of love, I should mention, that isn't a thing. No romance, only seduction. It pains me to continue to discuss these horrors in front of my largely female audience, but I hope you'll forgive me for educating the unknowing masses. In Xianxia, gender is a personality trait. If you are a man, you will rebuke women for rejecting your advances and attempt to disrupt the feng shui of their bedchambers so they die of heart attacks in their sleep. If you are a woman, your defining trait will be whether you choose to seduce any man possible for personal gain, exclusively try to seduce the main character, or allow the main characters to seduce you because it turns out that it's common knowledge among the people who make this stuff that women only want to cook rice. Now, before, when I said that Dragon Ball was counted among these, you may not have taken me as seriously as you should have, but beyond the talismans, sealing techniques, mystical herbs, and ancient magical artifacts, Dragon Ball borrows what is without doubt the most infuriating aspect of the Xianxia genre: the looping stories and going even further beyond! As I said before, originality isn't exactly the strong point of these stories. If the authors can't string together 2 arcs in a row that follow different stories, it'd certainly be too much to ask them to plan out an overarching story. As a result, every xianxia consists of short sagas which follow the pattern: start out as the weakest, rise to the top through moderate efforts and the luck of the heavens, dab on all your haters now that you're the strongest, discover you're a big fish in a small pond, ascend to the next realm where you think all of the true powerhouses are, and start again. This formula is repeated several times and usually lasts until the writer either wants to commit not alive, runs out of money, or both. Considering how many story loops there are on average, one would naturally assume that there must be some traits that are good enough to retain readers, right? Wrong. Sure, the power system is different from most other manga, with everyone cultivating to improve the chi they use for martial arts, alchemy, artifact refining, spirit array arranging, sorcery, and all that other cool stuff. But no one else uses this convoluted rubbish for a reason. Every cultivator's cultivation falls within a distinct major and minor realm, and all 42 of these are referred to by name and come in whatever arrangement the almighty author decides will confuse you the most. To have any idea what's going on at any point in the story, you either have to memorize the order of these countless realms or have the spoiler-filled wiki open and on hand to refer to the tables they arrange. Warning: I have yet to find a xianxia that isn't adapted from a light novel, so when I say the wikis are filled with spoilers, I mean don't even think about opening them if you are attempting the fool's errand of trying to enjoy one of these. I cannot, in good conscience, find any way to defend the transgressions this woman-hating, Twitter-triggering, PR-unfriendly hate crime of a genre commits, and nor should you. Writing like this should not for any reason be promoted. That being said, if enjoying this trash is a crime, I'm a criminal. It has zero redeeming qualities whatsoever, but I want you to hear me out. Think of hype-based stories like Solo Leveling. No one cares about what's actually going on in the chapters. There's just this euphoric feeling I can't resist whenever the main character of a cultivation stops hiding his strength and flexes on everyone by revealing his true power. I'm monkey-brained enough that I can read through any filth just because I know there's going to be a scene later on where disrespectful juniors will have eyes but fail to recognize Mount Tai. I will never recommend cultivation to anyone with all of their screws intact, but if you want to read this purely out of curiosity, the Korean Murim manhwa I mentioned aren't too bad. You might like some of those. If you hate yourself and want a perfect example of the box standard xianxia, then Martial Peak is the one for you. It has 2,486 chapters at the time of my writing this, and I have suffered through all of them. In the interest of fairness, I will also credit Tales of Demons and Gods for being readable. It is to xianxia what Mushoku Tensei is to Isekai, and that is a feat in and of itself. Subscribe for more and help me reach 1K. Had to get that out early because everyone leaves when I start my outro, and that's kinda depressing. Thanks for watching the video all the way through and all that good stuff. My 5 minutes of fame ran out and I'm back down to my really low viewership, so that sucks. To avoid messing up the algorithm and how many people YouTube shows my videos to, I think I'll start uploading the videos I don't think will do well to the Patreon for all tiers, so please consider supporting me over there. It gets you in the Discord too. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, and comment why down below, for the criticism helps me grow. It's been a while since I did this, so comment poison down below so I know who the real ones are. As always guys, I'm tired and this has been Samyuk607 logging out.